Hi, now and the final question for today is actually from Ahmad, who's a friend of mine and who actually is the person who kicked my bum to actually do these videos, and we'll see how well it works. So Ahmad, this is on to you. But anyway, I promised to answer one of his questions, which is what now for the NBN? What's the possibility for upgrading the current fibre to the node, or mostly fibre to the node, but also HFC, and possibly even FTTC, but all the way up to the full fibre of the original vision that was set out in the early days of the NBN. So the simple answer is that we can never have the network we were going to have in the early days. The early days, it was the fibre was rolled out between the various junction boxes, the distribution points. In a ring network, there was loads of fibre laid. Like every time it was time to lay a fibre, you didn't just lay one, you lay 100, because you kind of thought, well, this stuff's going to stay in the ground for 50 or 100 years, we may as well make sure we've got enough capacity. They also laid it in a ring so that if any of those links failed, the light would just essentially go the other path. So it makes it much more resilient to the the hassles of backhoes. That was all done away with the when they switched to the fibre to the node model, and they moved to a star topology, much cheaper, no question, but also less reliable, like it is susceptible to a backhoe, and of course the fibre to the node itself, as in the node, is always liable to cars hitting them and things like that. So. And I think that was the reason why they said, oh, well, there's no point in doing all this other stuff, because frankly it's much more likely that the node itself will come under issues. So anyway, but leaving that to one side, to do an upgrade to full fibre is actually, it is not tremendously hard. I mean, it's certainly, all things are doable. I think the question is can it be done for a reasonable amount of money? My intelligence within talking to NBN people is they feel like doing an upgrade is probably about the difference between the two, so about $2,000 per premises. So still a fair amount of money, particularly when you're rolling it out to vast areas of the country. The bigger issue is that new fibre would actually have to be laid, because more than likely the existing fibres that have been laid to the nodes are not, well, they're sufficient to run fibre to the premises, but you have this switchover problem, that when you start rolling out fibre to the premises, you've actually got to run for a period with the two running together. And there isn't enough fibre for that, or there probably isn't enough fibre for that. So more fibre would have to be laid just to cope with, I don't know, the 6 months or so while the techs go out and install. And of course there's lots of disruption involved, because there'd have to be appointments booked. RSPs would have to get involved, and traditionally the RSP industry hasn't been good at that. Like, we've all heard stories of sort of buck passing between the RSPs and NBN techs not turning up and all that sort of stuff. And so at the minimum we're going to have to go through all that again. Businesses is particularly problematic, because if they lose their service while it's being transitioned over, then that costs them money. And most modern businesses these days, frankly, you turn off their internet, within an hour they're sending their staff home. It's like you've cut the power. So disruptions to internet is a big problem for businesses. For the rest of it, it's a big inconvenience. But even that these days, particularly with the advances in medical devices and needing connectivity and the like, that's an issue. So the simple answer, I think, is yes, it can be done. How can I put this without being rude? It's a crying shame, frankly, that we didn't take the opportunity to go, right, we're going to have to do a big upgrade from the copper. We'll go all the way to the end, fibre, and then we won't have to touch it again for 40 or 50 years, and arguably not even past that, even past that. So we're going to have to go through that whole transition process all over again, which is a tremendous amount of cost. And of course, the end result is that there's no question that if we now go to full fibre, which we will have to do. It's a dead cert. There is no possibility that in 20 years' time we won't all be on full fibre. So essentially what we've done is mortgage the future, as they say, and put those costs off into the future just to avoid paying for them now. Now, I think it was not only is it not as far off into the future as some of the people in the current government were expecting, because I actually believe we will need to get started on it very soon, because every time we delay, we are losing our place in the internet economy. We are less of an attractive place for people to come and set up their businesses, and I think it's actually sad for society as a whole. I'm very lucky here in Tasmania. I live on a bush block. Cost me less than probably a unit in Sydney, and I get to travel to Launceston. It's about 15 minutes away, if that, where we got full fibre. We got fixed wireless here, which is okay. It's like many people complain about fixed wireless, but I find it quite usable. We can watch Netflix and the like. But we're quite lucky. I think there are definitely towers out there that are way more congested than ours. But the point I'm trying to say is that we can operate from here in Launceston and deal with companies all over the world if we needed to. And I know that there are actually engineering companies and design companies that do just that. And I think this is it's just really, it's a crying shame that this opportunity was missed, and it was missed for, frankly, very poor engineering principles and very poor economic principles even. And this, I'm going to have a dig here at the Liberal Party. This is the government that claims to be the best economic managers, and I tell you what, they have cost this country, without question, tens or 20, probably 20 or 30 billion dollars it will cost in the end, extra from what we've already paid to get this rolled out. And the end resulting asset will have no greater value than it would have done if we'd done the fibre to the premises in the first place. So yeah, there you go. All right, thank you. See you soon.